On today's episode of Poland Daily Culture, we are going to give you an insight into a foreign perspective living in Poland. We will be exploring their experiences and how they have absorbed certain aspects of the culture.
Welcome to Poland Daily Culture. Here today we're at Dom Polska, Belwederska in Warsaw. And in today's episode I'm joined by Alejandra. Alejandra, welcome to Poland Daily Culture.
Thank you very much.
So first of all, tell us, where are you from?
I'm from Mexico, specifically Mexico City.
How long ago did you arrive in Poland?
4 months ago, on October.
In October, all right, fantastic. And what brought you to Poland?
Well, it was very destiny, I think, because it was more because of I get a job here, but that's normally the opposite way. Like you first come and then you look for work. And for me, it was totally destiny. I just have this interview with Godly.com where I'm working now. And they were looking for people to come work in Poland. And I don't know, like I have the interview, I applied, and they just told me, like, just come to Poland. And now I'm here working.
So, in connection to that then, sort of Poland and Mexico, both Catholic countries.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing there's a different kind of interpretation of Catholicism in it.
Very different. Like for me, before I came, I didn't notice really our kind of Catholicism, but is really, really different, especially because when I just arrived, of course, in Godly.com, we have a lot of Catholic people working there, of course. So all the people that I met that are Catholic here in Poland, I will say that Catholicism in Poland is a little bit more mature than in Mexico.
All right. In what way do you mean that?
Because, for example, people here that they say they are Catholic, they really live a Catholic life from the Bible, for example, and they really believe in marriage. Mm-hmm. And this is like a very normal example, life from the everyday life, marriage. In Mexico, my generation especially, millennials, are like not into marriage anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think they are more Catholics because their parents probably tell them to be. Uh-huh. But you can find these people like going to yoga class, and then because of yoga, they get into Buddhism a little bit, but it's not even Buddhism, but you're still being Catholic. So it's like a mix of everything. So the result is very immature, you know, because probably you are praying and going on Sundays to the church, but not really living or mixing it with other religions. And I think here is very like a lifestyle, literally. So that's a little bit what we want to do with Godly, like tell people that it's a lifestyle. It's not just saying like, I'm Catholic, mm-hmm. and I am working for this LATAM region to make this message.
The which region, sorry?
Latin America. Yeah.
Right. I'm with you. Okay, so it's kind of, you're trying to send back this message of how it looks in Poland back to Latin America.
Yeah, I mean, we are not going to literally say, like, here is how you do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's a very good example because especially here, what I have noticed, I mean, for these 4 months that I have been working here, is that especially young people is very into Catholic and they have this lifestyle. And in Mexico, I think in young people is not really very cool to be Catholic now. I see. So we want to show, like, it's really cool. It can be really cool and for young people to be Catholic. It is not necessary to be like praying with your grandmother. Yeah, and it looks like that in Mexico a little bit.
I see. Okay, so just aside from that, what are your kind of first impressions? Because you're somebody who's kind of quite fresh to the country. So what was your kind of initial thoughts when you arrived in Poland?
It was very different. Like before I came, I didn't have a lot of idea of how it could be Warsaw especially. It was my first time also in Europe. I haven't been there here. Uh-huh. Yeah. So, for example, the first thing that I thought when I was here, it was like, it looks so empty for me, the city.
Coming from Mexico City, right?
We have 22 millions, right? So comparing, I feel like a little bit ghost town at first, like where is everyone? But then you realize that it's very, for me, the change to come from like literally the other side of the world alone, it's very easy because Warsaw is a very organized city for me. Public transportation works incredible and it's super safe, like for my eyes. Of course, I come from Mexico and I am always telling people like it's not that unsafe that you say in narco series or something like that. But okay, I understand now comparing to Warsaw, that is a very safe city. So I really like that. I think Warsaw is an incredible city to live, to establish a life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what have you what parts of the city or the culture or anything like that have you have jumped out at you? Apart from, you mentioned things about safety, but what parts of like lifestyle have jumped out at you?
Well, of course, when I was coming, my expectations were like to have these images like we have in mind when you come to Europe, like castles and all these Gothic, and But of course, when you began to understand the history of Warsaw, and I find with a very modern city, especially when you are not going to the old town, of course. But for me, it's very modern to be European because you are expecting all these antique buildings. So I really feel like that is very special thing of Warsaw, the mix, that now you can go to the old town and everything is rebuilt, but very authentic style, and very recent, the reconstruction. So for me, it's like very impactant, like
strong
shocking,
impact, yeah.
Shocking, because it's very few time when Warsaw people made all this. So for me, it's crazy, all this rebuilding. And then you have the modern part, for example, going more from Centralna and Centrum, and you have all these skyscrapers and a lot of buildings going on construction. So for me, it's like a very, very nice mix. And I think you have the best of both. And especially the history for me is very interesting. I every time that I speak a lot of this with Polish people, they told me it's very, very interesting and very recent.
Today we are in Dom Polska, it's a Polish restaurant. So maybe it's kind of apt that we sort of say something about food and maybe your impressions, especially contrasting that with Mexican food. Because I'm thinking, there are elements of similarities, but on the other hand, the flavours are quite different.
Very different. Like Mexican food is really spicy and tasty, but I was a little bit afraid of coming here and missing a lot of tacos. But no, really, I like Polish food a lot. And for example, for me, the best is the soups. You have really nice soups. I feel very natural flavors on it. And for example, Jurek, I love it. I really love Jurek. And pierogi is also very good because these are the both things that you first try, right? When you are trying very traditional Polish. But soups are very, very good. Actually, now I am just learning a little bit of basic Polish words. And my favorite phrase, I don't know if I would do it good, but it's like poproszę zupę pomidorowa. Because I also love zupę pomidorowa. So, I think it's very natural and homemade if you really go to the traditional. And that is, I think, the only common thing that I will find between Mexican and Polish, that both are very traditional and with a lot of natural ingredients, not really fake ingredients. So I really like it.
Now, is there any other part of, like, when you're sort of looking around that you feel something has kind of impacted you in some way? Maybe it's like, I don't know, the environment or the weather or something. Have you ventured outside of Warsaw at all?
Talking about outside city, to Krakow. I went to Krakow. Oh my God, that is also a very nice place, especially because there you have all these what I was expecting before I came, like the castle.
A bit more of the fairy tale, yeah?
And I have been also in other cities, not in Poland, but to be honest, that makes me value more to be living in Barca, because maybe for tourists or just traveling, there are in Europe a lot of places really nice to go, right? Like a lot of cities. But then when I was going, for example, Germany or like Prague, Brussels, I have been there now. I always want to come back to Barca because I really feel like here you can live this everyday lifestyle. I am very impressed how I quickly get used to live here. For me, it's very, like I was thinking that it would take very more to get used to it and feel like really in a hometown. And no, I think it's very, very easy. And comparing, for example, I think it would be very difficult from someone to Barca to going to live to Mexico City.
Why do you say that?
Because Mexico City is like a little bit of struggle when you are used to Barca, probably. I feel like you will have all this struggle with public transportation there.
Oh, okay.
Like organization in Mexico City is a little bit messy. I mean, it's very colorful and we have all this warmth of Latin. But to get used to live like every day and going to work and take the bus is kind of a struggle even for the people we born there. And for me, taking the bus every day to go work and going out to the neighborhood, like living a real life, not just touristic, it has been very easy.
Alejandra, thank you very much for joining us here at Poland Daily Culture.
Thank you for inviting me.